Hi, this video could be considered a video response to a video made by C4Crispy. I'm going to put the link in the description. A really cool video, check it out, because he questions the morality and alignment systems in tabletop role-playing games. When it comes to how I handle alignment and morality, I think it's important to understand something. When it comes to RPG designers and authors, they always establish some sort of alignment or morality based on basically two things: what they like concerning fiction and fantasy when it comes to alignment, morality, but also their own values. So it's always like a product of both things. You'll see authors that they follow a particular religion, not in all cases, but sometimes, and they kind of like create this composite, this mixed thing, combining it with, like I said, perhaps something related to sword and sorcery, some high fantasy novels, and that's it. That's the result. The alignment or morality system that they have is a product of those things combined. Or if they are not following some sort of dogma or doctrine, they have their own values. I personally think that the human being, we are naturally virtuous and vicious. We have both light and dark. This is not tied to religion, it's the human nature. I consider it very highly materialistic to associate the natural virtue of a human, or the natural vice, the tendencies, with some sort of dogma or doctrine. You are a good person not because you are a policeman or a soldier or a religious person. You are a good person because you are a person. That's it. You are a bad person for the same reason. So there is no need to associate the actions of being good or bad to a particular dogma, doctrine, profession, political party, political alignment. There is so much division in the world. If only people would manage to release themselves from those ideologies, rather mechanisms of control, they would unify, they would unite us, because we are all humans. Well, those of us that are humans, we are humans, so we should work together. That's my thought on that, and release ourselves from all of those mechanisms that are being used for political control. Okay, now when it comes to how I handle alignment and morality in my own games, it's heavily based on context. But I am also generally quite free-form when it comes to the actions that you can take. Let's say that you are playing as a paladin. I think that a lot of people dislike paladins because they are usually tied to the alignment system, but also to the sense of morality of the game master. So for example, in my games, if the paladin suddenly decides to decapitate his foe and takes the head of the foe and yells or roars or tries to intimidate the others and throws the head at the enemies to frighten them or whatever, some game masters could be like, oh, no, paladin, that is too gruesome, no. And for me, in my case, that's fine. Take a look at the different people that could be considered knights and paladins throughout history, and they did that and much worse. So when it comes to war, like I said, everything, like the typical, everything is valid in love and war. When it comes to war, fighting battles, it's part of the situation. You cannot fight against your opponent unless you become a bit monstrous in those extreme situations. So when it comes to the paladin in the lawful good sense, the paladin would be lawful in my games if the paladin is following a certain order, tries to respect the laws in a particular city or town, but when there is some sort of evil going on, the paladin can work beyond what is expected in a conventional sense. So maybe you are entering this city that is known to be highly corrupt, and they say something like, no weapons allowed. The paladin could be sneaking a dagger or a small weapon, or using some sort of magic to render the weapons invisible, or perhaps place them in some sort of pocket dimension to enter the city with some weapons hidden, he would be technically breaking the law of that place, but there is great evil at hand. So I would consider that still valid within the purview of the Paladin, lawful good. When it comes to good and evil, this is a bit trickier, but in my case, I handle good as generally benefiting the decent people, those that are not trying to be selfish, harming others for the only reason of pleasure, like they experience pleasure for harming others and that's it, or they want to take something that doesn't belong to them just like that because of selfishness, of greed. So you have to establish certain guidelines as a game master, but you also need to give priority to that. Where lies the true lawfulness and the true goodness or even evil? There are many complex questions. The Paladin is a perfect example, that's why I'm using him or her. If you kill someone that is, you know that that person is evil, but you have no proof. Is that good or evil? Maybe you are mistaken. So you have to take those risks. Sometimes the powers of the Paladin are linked to that. Maybe you think that's the villain and you kill the so-called villain, and turns out it was an innocent person. Now you need to carry out a redemption arc, probably, because your powers are stripped from you. So it's highly complex. What about this typical situation? You enter this lair of goblins and orcs, and they are quite evil. It's a clan of evil goblins and orcs, and you enter the nursery. Do you decide to slaughter all of the baby goblins and baby orcs? Goblin Slayer has no problem doing that. And in my games, if the clan is evil, well, I guess you can already imagine what my choice would be. So, yes, these are the sorts of difficult situations. Take a look at the different conquerors throughout history. Genghis Khan, he pretty much annihilated his enemies completely. He turned them to mush. And he is considered by many people as a hero. So a lot of other people that are more tied to perhaps a religious or contemporaneous actual sense of good or evil, morality and such, could consider him a complete villain and tyrant. Funny enough, those people that have like a certain higher ground or holier than thou sense of morality, when they are put in those situations, they are perhaps even worse. They usually like to talk, but when it's time to act, they do some very nefarious things. So overall, I think morality is quite complex. In my case, I would recommend that as guidelines, identify if you are having fun with that alignment system. In my case, when it comes to all of that lawful good, chaotic neutral, and all of that, or if you only handle chaos and law, I usually employ that in high fantasy games, sword and sorcery games, because they are kind of like a staple of the genre. In the case of Dungeon Crawl Classics, you can pretty much tell that the entire alignment of law and chaos, if not, it could be considered a tribute, in the worst of cases a ripoff of what you see in the Elric saga, the Eternal Champion saga, specifically in the adventures of Elric of Melniboné. The entire world changes depending on the prevalence of chaos, of order, or the balance between the two. The world literally deforms or reforms depending based on the influence of those powers. So yes, if you have like an alignment system or a morality system in a particular RPG, think if you are having fun with it. If it's this alignment system is kind of like restraining myself or shackling me, I feel limited to particular actions. Either modify the alignment, the way that you handle it, like I said in my case of my Paladin, that when my players decide to play as like a lawful good character and they do some very questionable acts, you need to, I would say that you need to cut them some slack. As long as they are following the rules or respecting the rules within certain places and striving towards punishing evil and benefiting those that are decent, that are trying to help others, that try to live in a peaceful way, And do not be influenced by the moronic politics of present times and the distorted sense of morality of good and evil. Just take a look all of those conventions, sensibilities concerning good, evil, morality. They are basically there to enslave people. Oh, you shouldn't kill. And yet governments, corporations, religions, intelligence agencies, they are constantly killing people. All the time. And for the most selfish reasons. So pay attention to that. Oh, you should not speak against that politic, or you shouldn't talk about sex and religion. That's basically a way of shutting you up, or silencing you. That's the one who is parroting that is someone who is perfectly fine with the mess of the current world. They are basically telling you, oh, don't rock the boat because I am benefiting from all of the bad things that are happening. I am the beneficiary, so don't rock the boat. That's what they are saying. So yes, when it comes to gaming, have fun with the alignment system. If you are not having fun, discard it, modify it. It's all about your game. And don't let other people manipulate you into, oh no, that's not good, that's not right. If it works for you and your group, have it your way. And remember that later today we are going to be playing the Dark and Terrible campaign. Speaking of zones of gray, of light and shadow, or light and dark, there are going to be some very dark things happening in that campaign. Definitely check it out if you enjoy that sort of scenario. I will try to upload the recorded session before midnight. So I think because of that, because I am making some last minute preparations, or rather last hours, I am only going to upload this video, perhaps another video if I have the time, but I am definitely preparing everything because I like to be like 5 or 10 steps ahead of my players when it comes to the sandbox, because you never know what they are going to do. Once again, thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.